Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online regulation I VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be featuring a really fun team featuring Cinccino. This is a Pokemon that basically sees 0% usage in competitive VGC, but it has a couple of really awesome niches. The main thing is that it is quite fast and it gets access to a lot of multi-hit moves, so you combine that with Technician and Loaded Dice, and it can actually pick up one-hit knockouts onto a lot of common Pokemon in the format. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. This team finished in the top 100 of the previous ranked season, and to see a Pokemon like Cinccino just end up so high in the rankings I think is really cool, and so I'm excited to feature what exactly it can do. But yeah, let's get started. If you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there's also an accompany Pokepaste down in the description below. This team utilizes Cinccino to really catch opponents off guard. Cinccino, of course, has a very positive matchup into a lot of common Pokemon in the format. You can Triple Axel Rillabooms for knockouts. You can knock off Calyrex Shadow Riders for knockoff. Rock Blast is really good into fire types like Incineroar and Volcarona, for example. And overall, Cinccino just catches a lot of people off guard. You're using the restricted duo of Miraidon plus Zamazenta. This Miraidon is Life Orb, so it gives you the ability to protect at the drawback of a little bit weaker power. Zamazenta here also has Imprison, which is really valuable in shutting down opposing Zamazentas and blocking opponents from being able to protect. You've got the classic Chien-Pao Dragonite duo returning here as well, with a more unique Chien-Pao having Covert Cloak as well as Runation, and a Focus Sash, Encore, Endeavor, Whimsicott. Overall, the team has a lot of offense across the board, and you can definitely catch opponents off guard with leads like Chien-Pao Cinccino as well as Whimsicott Cinccino. Some quick context, this team was developed by a Japanese player who ended up finishing rank number 63 at the end of the June rank season. It's really hard, of course, to climb up to the ladder this high, and to end the season with a ranking this strong is really impressive. And of course, to do it with such a unique team and unique Pokemon, of course, in that Cinccino is incredible. And so, yeah, really cool to see another new Pokemon kind of being introduced. I think outside of this team, I had basically seen no one else really use Cinccino, but this team utilizes it super well. So huge kudos to the original team builder and creator for piloting it to such an incredible finish. Breaking down the team, the first Pokemon we have to highlight is, of course, none other than Cinccino. Question of the day, by the way, I want to know what your favorite song currently is down in the comments section below, inspired by some of my favorite groups like Twice, Blackpink, and Cat's Eye releasing music recently. Now, Cinccino, I have to preface by saying, is a very difficult Pokemon to use. There's a reason why its usage rate is very low. It is not easy to execute. It can look absolutely amazing in matchups, but it can also feel absolutely useless in matchups, right? And so when you use these more niche Pokemon that have lower usage rates, you have to find the right win conditions for them a little bit more, and you have to work a little bit harder in order to get them to work. Sometimes you have to work very hard in order to get them to work. Cinccino has a really great niche in the metagame because it does outpace a lot of common Pokemon. It's base 115 speed, right? And so you will be outpacing a lot of those Pokemon that you often see in the base 95, 100 range, for example. It gets access to a lot of really great multi-hit moves, and we're using Triple Axel as well as Rock Blast here. You've got Loaded Dice plus Technician, which is a really awesome combination, and Cinccino is basically designed to, first of all, catch your opponents off guard. When people see this Pokemon, they generally have no idea what it even does. And two, it has the ability to threaten one-hit knockouts with some of its moves, even on Pokemon that have Focus Sash, right? So, for example, you can go for Triple Axel onto a Flutter Mane. Flutter Mane with Focus Sash is quite common, especially on Sun teams. So with Whimsicott Cinccino, you can go KO and Triple Axel and just KO Flutter Mane, for example. You've also got Knockoff, which is really good to deal with Calyrex Shadow Rider and Lunala. Rock Blast is really good into fire types. Volcarona is actually one of the more common counters to Zamazenta right now, and so Cinccino having that Rock Blast to hit Volcarona is really nice. Ghost Terror here allows you to get around a Fake Out at any given time, which is really nice, and of course gives you immunity to fighting type damage as well. And so Cinccino is often paired, for example, with Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao has that sort of rune. You've also got Covert Cloak here, so then now suddenly you lead Chien-Pao Cinccino. Your opponent thinks they can get away with Fake Out into either Pokemon. Ghost Terra plus Covert Cloak means neither Pokemon will actually get flinched, which is really awesome, right? And so this is a Pokemon that can be absolutely incredible, especially if it actually picks up those one-hit knockouts, but it's also hindered by a couple of things, right? For example, Intimidate is really good into it. Having a lot of physical defense bulk is also really valuable. There's times where I expect Cinccino to get a knockout. It doesn't. My opponent survives. They knock me out in return. That often doesn't feel very good. And so this is once again, not the easiest Pokemon to execute, but can be very, very powerful when supported properly. And there are a lot of Pokemon in the format right now that just take a ton of damage from Cinccino's moves. For your restricted Pokemon, you've got Miraidon and Zamazenta. Both of these are actually a little bit unique and aren't entirely built like how you would expect them to be built. For example, this Miraidon is actually timid max speed, which gives you a really, really big edge against opposing Miraidons. Of course, it also means that you don't have any bulk to work with, and so if you're used to playing with like bulky specs Miraidon, this Miraidon is not going to take moves as well. That being said, Miraidon still has pretty natural bulk, and so it's not like you are just fainting left and right, but just be cautious of that. This is going to be really fast. It was timid, and so with timid Life Orb, that's quite different from, like, for example, Modest Choice specs. You will be doing less damage. That being said, it is, of course, still a very, very powerful Pokemon. You've got Fairy Terra, Dazzling Gleam here. This is really nice because against opposing Miraidon teams, you often want to consider just leading, like, Whimsicott Miraidon and just going Tailwind, Fairy Terra, Dazzling immediately. If they don't Terra, they get punished ultra heavily. If they do, well, you still have the speed advantage most of the time because you are timid max speed. And so Life Orb here gives you the flexibility to actually change your moves, of course, at the trade-off of slightly lower damage relative to choice specs, and because you are running this set, you actually can't really fit Volt Switch onto it, which is also one of the downsides since Volt Switch is such a good move on Miraidon. That being said, I think Life Orb plus max speed is something that can definitely catch opponents off guard, and this gives you a big edge to opposing Miraidon teams. The Zamazenta, as I mentioned, is also a little bit unique, and that's mainly because it's got Imprison. Imprison is going to be a really valuable move against opposing Zamazentas, right? And so if you are up against opposing Zamas, you often will be faster because of the amount of speed investment that you have. You can sometimes just like go for Zama lead turn 1, click Imprison immediately, and render their Zamazenta just completely useless, right? So that's one of the cool things you can do with this Pokemon. Imprison basically makes opposing Zamazentas absolutely miserable and just shuts down really anything like they can do. And if you are up against opposing Zamas, like, and you click Imprison, not only will you render them useless, you also often force them to, of course, switch out, giving up their defense boost as well. So this is a unique move on Zamazenta, but it gives you just an entirely huge leg up against your opponents in the mirror match when they also have Zamazenta. To round things out, you've got Whimsicott. I bring Whimsicott, I feel like, in almost every matchup with this team. It is just so good because of its ability to set up Tailwind. Of course, Tailwind is a move that Cinccino often appreciates as well because while it is really fast, it's still going to be outsped by things like, for example, Calyrex Shadow Rider, as well as, you know, the base 130, 135 Pokemon, opposing Miraidons, opposing Koraidons. So having that Tailwind support can be really nice in allowing Cinccino just outpace things and knock them out before they get the chance to move. This Whimsicott also crucially has the Focus Sash as well as Encore and Endeavor. Encore is really nice, of course, to be disruptive and is typically seen on these Whimsicotts, but Endeavor is kind of the new move here that not a lot of people generally respect from Whimsicott. With Sash and Endeavor, you can make some really cool plays, and of course, it just allows you to bring Pokemon really, really low, and then you can finish it off with basically anything else. Now, keep in mind the speed stats with this team, right? The Whimsicott here is max speed, but it is still going to be outsped by, for example, the Miraidon here, as well as the Chien-Pao. So it's really cool when you can go Endeavor into knocking something out immediately. You're normally going to do that with something like Whimsicott with Cinccino, Zamazenta, or Dragonite. Endeavor just sometimes is not like incredible when you have a faster Mon next to it because it means you can bring them down low, but you won't be able to finish them off immediately after on the same turn. That being said, Endeavor is a move that I click so frequently with this Whimsicott, and it just turns it into like an actual potent offensive monster on this team, right? Because it's either often getting brought down to Sash or getting brought down super, super low. Chien-Pao is really interesting on this team because it's Covert Cloak. Normally, of course, you'll expect Covert Cloak on Whimsicott, Focus Sash on Chien-Pao, but here you're swapping the items. If the kind of closed team sheet best of one ladder experience, doing this can give you a really big advantage because people almost always expect Focus Sash as an item on Chien-Pao. They almost always expect Covert Cloak on Whimsicott, even though Sash is also quite common on this. I feel like it's still like the #1 item that you respect on both of these. So by swapping them, you can definitely catch your opponents off guard. This Chien-Pao actually has Grass Terra rather than something like Ghost Terra or Stellar Terra, and you're actually running Ruination as well. I think moves like Ruination and Taunt are really interesting on Chien-Pao because people generally don't expect them too much, but it can give you a pretty big leg up, right? The idea with Ruination is you can just go for Ruination, bring something down to 50%, and then immediately finish it off afterwards. I think that's especially common when you've got Zamazenta or Cinccino next to the Chien-Pao. And the Ruination is just especially nice in dealing with super bulky Pokemon, for example. Very helpful into Incineroar, which otherwise obviously walls most Chien-Pao sets unless you're running Sacred Sword. And even then, -1 Sacred Sword doesn't do a ton of damage. Ruination can also be really valuable, for example, into something like Shadow Shield Lunala. So yeah, this is a really, really cool move and gives you value basically into anything that you can really go up against. The final Pokemon is Dragonite. I think in my experience using this team, Dragonite feels like maybe the least intuitive to use, and so I feel like it is not maybe the easiest Pokemon to execute. This is going to be a multi-skill set rather than inner focus, and so this Dragonite basically is going to be quite tanky, right? You can often lead it with Chien-Pao, and the idea is with this lead, as we've seen in previous regulations in VGC, you pressure with things like Normal Terra, Extreme Speed plus Sucker Punch immediately. There are not that many Pokemon that can take the combo of this, right? Sucker plus Normal Terra E-Speed, and it's also Adamant Chien-Pao here, by the way, rather than Jolly. So the combination of that can be really powerful and allow you to just really finish off Pokemon pretty quickly, right? The Dragonite here has some interesting moves as well. Aerial Ace gives you normal type, or I should say flying type, same type attack bonus. Low kick gives you fighting type coverage. And Facade's actually really interesting here. Will-O-Wisp can be pretty annoying for this team to deal with, especially from like Ghost Terra Incin. And so if Dragonite is able to like switch in on a Will-O-Wisp, it won't be able to hit Ghost Terra Incin, but at least can hit everything else next to it. And if they don't Terra it, for example, then you can do a ton of damage. And so this is also valuable into like soaking up Thunder Waves from, for example, Grimmsnarl. But overall, Dragonite just gives you a bulky offensive attacker that can take a big hit because of multi-scale and then retaliate back with a ton of damage. In terms of weaknesses and things to watch out for, first of all, Cinccino is awesome, but it is, like I mentioned, not an easy Pokemon to use. You can be countered by Intimidate, you can be countered by Pokemon that are extra defensively bulky, and you also are very vulnerable to missing your moves. Now, it's 90% accurate on these, and so your odds of hitting them are actually pretty good, right? But if you miss, it's often a complete disaster. Cinccino also does not love going against Pokemon that just can outpace it. That's why Whimsicott is often brought to set up Tailwind. But for example, if you don't have Tailwind set up, or if your opponent has matched your Tailwind, Cinccino can get absolutely destroyed by opposing Pokemon or faster, like Miraidon or Shadow Rider, for example. And of course, you have to also be careful about Pokemon that can wall Cinccino. Steel-type Pokemon, for example, can be pretty annoying, like opposing Zamazentas. It's actually part of the reason why you have Imprison on this Zamazenta. But yeah, Cinccino definitely has its work cut out for it, and there are a fair number of things that can give it a lot of trouble. Other things to note, Zamazenta here does not have wide guard, so spread moves suddenly become a lot more powerful, especially if your opponent either knows about the team or has figured out that you don't have wide guard. What that means is opposing Calyrex Shadow Riders, Kyogres, Groudons in particular can take advantage of this. I've actually really struggled a ton against Groudon teams in particular because they often can just like soak up damage really well, and Precipice Blades does a ton of damage across the board as well, and so that's one restricted that I would call out in particular. Dragonite here is often awesome, but if your opponent, like once again, either knows about multi-skill or kind of calls you out saying that I don't think you have inner focus, that can be really scary. So this makes it more vulnerable to, of course, like Intimidate as well as Fake Out. And of course, this team also has a lot of priority. Extreme Speed here on Dragonite, the Whimsicott, especially using Encore as well as Chien-Pao's Sucker Punch. So ways to block priority can be really tricky to deal with as well, like Farigiraf or Indeedee. And then like Grimmsnarl is another good example where I think screens in general are kind of a nightmare for this team to deal with, because your goal normally is to like knock your opponent out before they get the chance to move. But with screens, their survivability just increases so much, and then it can Thunder Wave like Zamazenta and the Cinccino, and you know, just be really disruptive as well. So Grimm is in particular a Pokemon that I think is not the easiest to go up against. And then Chien-Pao here is really exposed to fire type damage, and without Focus Sash means it can go down very quickly. An example of a strong fire type Pokemon is like Choice Scarf Chi-Yu, where it threatens Chien-Pao, Whimsicott, as well as Zamazenta. And then Whims here is going to often be vulnerable to things like Fake Out plus an attack just KOing it, since you don't have Covert Cloak on it. So you have to be extra cautious of that as well. But those are just a couple of things that I wanted to note. Ooh, Lunala Koraidon with Regieleki, Rillaboom, Chi-Yu, and the Valiant. Very interesting. Cinccino is intriguing to me here, as is Whimsicott. It's kind of crazy, but I'm actually thinking about dropping Zamazenta in this one. I probably should be bringing it, but like it just doesn't do anything into Lunala. Still good into Rillaboom. Can be good into Koraidon, good into Aleki. Not that great into Chi-Yu. Yeah, I'm going to go Whimsicott, Cinccino lead. Miraidon in the back for sure. Question is what I want as the fourth. Could be Chien-Pao. I also don't know what kind of Lunala set it is. I think I'm still going to end up bringing Zama here, but I do think there's actually a very good case to drop it, because Lunala is just kind of a big problem Pokemon. But I think Regieleki is really interesting. right? They have some really fast mons with Regieleki, potentially Scarf Chi-Yu. It's a Lecky plus Lunala lead. Okay. That works for me. Yeah, like, with Tailwind support, I'll just be faster than a Lecky. So I can Tailwind here and just Triple Axel. Okay, they don't protect. Nice. Yep, that's just a one-hit KO. Lunala could Trick Room here, but if they Trick Room, I can just Encore them immediately, so... Maybe Meteor Beam? Nope, just Moongeist. Okay, perfect. That's a really good turn 1 for us. Down to almost Sash, but now I have Speed Control up. And I think Cinccino is just so offensive in this matchup, it can kind of just go Pokemon after Pokemon. Koraidon comes out, so now I kind of expect Koraidon to fire Terra. There is the threat of Trick Room. I'm leaning double into Lunala. Moonblast knockoff, personally. Beautiful. Okay. There's Moonblast. And now knockoff. Cinccino, let's go. One shot's Regieleki, one shot's Lunala, essentially. I mean, now we could just Encore the Koraidon, obviously. It's so satisfying. Chi-Yu's in the back. Nice. Cool. So now I can just Encore you into your Protect and go for Rock Blast onto you. They're not going to Protect. Is Cinccino just going to get every knockout here? If we don't miss the Rock Blast, it literally will get every KO. Oh my goodness. So that's one of the awesome things about Cinccino, by the way, is knocking Pokemon out through Focus Sash. Regieleki is almost always Focus Sash, so I figured turn 1 they'd probably feel like, hey, I'm on an okay spot. But that was indeed not the case. Now we can go for Endeavor into you and knock off into you. But yeah, I figured when it was Lunala Koraidon out, like, it could have been scary, obviously, if Lunala had Protect and I doubled up into it, but then I at least can Encore that slot and then bring in, like, Miraidon, and then just thread in Draco or Electro Drift. And I figured the Koraidon, if it were to attack that turn, probably would Terra, because you just saw me reveal Triple Axel, so you obviously don't want to eat up a Triple Axel, right? And so I think in this game, the opportunity my opponent had maybe to pull things back was by tearing Lunala if they had Trick Room on it, Terra defensively, and then go for a Trick Room. But then because they protected Koraidon, would have been able to just like either Encore the Koraidon slot or Encore the Lunala slot. So Trick Room Protect still actually can be a little bit spooky for them because of the threat of Encore. But yeah, that could not have been a better game to demonstrate what Cinccino can do. Lunala Ice Rider. Ursaluna Rilla Smeargle Volk. I really don't like the looks of this. This looks challenging. I think this could be an interesting game for Chien-Pao plus Cinccino lead, because it's like with Ghost Terra plus Covert Cloak, it's double Fake Out immune. With Miraidon and Zama in the back. Multi-scale Dragonite's actually kind of interesting here, but I don't feel that strongly about it. But yeah, I think Cinccino is interesting, right? Because I can Ice Spinner into the Rillaboom, Rock Blast into Lavolk, Rock Blast into the Ice Rider. Pao gives me the defense drop as well, which is really sweet. And then normally, like, one of the things that's really nice about this team is people love bringing Volcarona into it because obviously there's Zamazenta, but if they bring Volk, Cinccino can just Rock Blast it away. So let's see. I just think, yeah, Trick Room in general is a little bit scary for us to deal with, so if it gets set up, that could be bad. Okay. Volt Ice Rider. I wouldn't be surprised if they just like Rage Powder turn 1 here. You know what would be kind of sick? Like Grass Terroring here to get around Rage Powder, allowing me to get a Runation off. I'm leaning towards Runation and Rock Blast here. Okay, yeah, it is Rage Powder. So the Grass Terra play, well, I say it was sick, but like if they just Glacial Lance, it's not sick at all. So don't know if that was really worth considering. I have Citrus, that's fine. Rock Blast should just demolish Bulk, yep. My guess is Trick Room gets set up now. They could just click Glacial Lance here, though. And just Trick Room. Okay. Well, I didn't have a way to really deny that, right? What else could I have gone with? If I had Whimsicott, been able to Encore after this turn, but... It's tricky. Bring out Rillaboom. Zama is a pretty good angle to switch in here for sure right now. I just like wonder, I mean, you could just Glacial Lance Woodhammer here, right? I don't think they would really click Fake Out, so I think I'll just Protect here, switch in Zama this turn. If we can stall out Trick Room and get some damage onto Ice Rider, Cinccino looks incredible in the end game, but that's a lot of turns to get through. Zama here should be very good. Now I pressure with Sucker Punch. It'll be frustrating if they do click Fake Out into Chien-Pao since I had Covert Cloak, but I think you should just Woodhammer. Yeah, they didn't Fake Out. It's just the right play. Glacial comes out. We take 30 damage. Not bad. They went for U-turn. I could have attacked that turn then. Okay. I think it's fine. They're going to U-turn out into Lunala, presumably. Yeah. Who do I Terra in this game? Probably Terra Fairy this. Terra Grass this just makes me weak. I almost wonder if I ever switch this out, but neither of these are good Glacial Lance switch-ins. They might high horsepower me here, though, honestly. Leaning towards Sucker Punching Ice Rider and Body Pressing it. Lunala might Terra here. Neither Terra. Whoa. Okay. I mean, this is fine, though, right? Like, if I survive the turn, which I should... Wait, Moongeist? Moonblast? Okay, that's fine. I KO Ice Rider. We win the Terrain War. That's good. Yeah, I'll take this trade any day. Cool. Like, Cinccino in the late game now is getting set up, which is a big deal. I could just bring this out and Ghost Terror it, right? They might Woodhammer it, though, is the thing. So, maybe better to bring Miraidon out first. Trick Room is still up, so we'll win the Terrain War from this. I think this is fine. Soften them up so that Cinccino can finish things off. I just thought about bringing Cinccino out because then it's like suddenly I have 2 Ghost Terror options, and then like I could just Ghost Terror Cinccino, get around Fake Out, and then maybe knock out Rillaboom. 2 turns of Trick Room left though, which is obviously quite good. I mean, why not double Protect here? Calm Mind would be my only fear. Yeah, I think I could also just attack here. Terra Miraidon this turn. I'll Draco and Body Press into you. This just gets around Moonblast dealing super effective damage, right? I also, like, it could be Calm Mind. I don't want to give them a free Calm Mind here. This way I get guaranteed damage onto Rilla. Okay, they fake out into that slot, but that's fine. I can survive Moongat. Ooh, it's Meteor Beam. Oh. I mean, I don't think that KOs us, though, right? As long as it doesn't KO us, it's fine. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I think it's okay. But the Meteor Beam now means knockoff obviously does less damage to this, but I think it's still fine. I think I can just double protect here, right? Last turn of Trick Room, so double protect. You know, the other question is, how can Lunala even finish off Cinccino? What is your moveset? You obviously have Moonblast. Yeah, does +1 Moonblast even KO Cinccino is the question I have. Because if it doesn't, then Cinccino just survives and gets a knockoff in return. But it's essentially a 3v1 in this game, right? So I think we should be okay. I can just go for Electro Drift into you now, and then Body Press into you. Yep. Okay, break Shadow Shield. Heavy Slam plus knockoff should be a KO onto that now. The main question is whether or not they Trick Room with Lunala rather than Moongeist Beaming. Okay, they Moongeist Beam and it's into Zom. I don't even think this KOs us, honestly. Yeah, nice. Yeah, 2 turns of terrain. I mean, it's fine to just Electro Drift here and Heavy Slam. Cool. Well, Cinccino didn't end up coming out here, but it was going to be really good into Rillaboom plus Lunala in the end game. I was hoping, actually, my opponent would knock one of them out so I can bring Cinccino out and then Ice Spinner and knock off, but they took a little bit too long to actually feint there. But I do think Cinccino is actually pretty sweet in this matchup. Obviously, we also used it in the early game to just finish off Volcarona, which was really nice. And I think a lot of the Zamazenta Miraidon team struggle against Volcarona, but Cinccino having a way to just like obliterate it is super, super sweet. And so it was nice to get like an early KO there. And then Zom was just such a good switch in when they had Rilla. Like, I think the combination of Rilla, Ice Rider, and Lunala just in general weren't great into Zom. I think if they had brought out Lunala first, they may have had a better chance. But with them giving up 2 Pokemon too quickly, I just won the terrain war, and that makes Rillaboom substantially worse, right? But yeah, I was like thinking that Cinccino could actually also close out the game because it could knock out Ice Rider, could knock out Rilla, could knock out Lunala. I just didn't want to switch it in carelessly and have it get KO'd. So I was like, hey, once Trick Room ends, I should be able to like position it. But turns out we didn't even really need it. Like the combination of Miraidon and Zom was enough. But Cinccino was great in that early game to finish off the bulk. Miraidon, Lunala with Hands, Incin, Urshifu, and Tornadus. Okay. First question I have is whether or not it's Electric Seed on Lunala. Cinccino here has solid offense into Incin, Miraidon, Tornadus. Can knock off. Not great into Hands. Honestly thinking Chien-Pao. Wims lets me match Tailwind. Don't think we want Dragonite here. So pick 4 or 5. Yeah, I'm basically just debating. Like, I feel like I should be bringing Whimsicott, because then if I don't and they bring Tornadus, it's really bad. So I'm leaning towards Whimsicott, Miraidon lead, Zama. Cinccino in the back. Probably could be POW over Cinccino in this one, but I think Cinccino still can be good. The ability to just destroy Tornadus, Incin, knock off into the Lunala. If it's Miraidon Lunala lead, we'll have to see if their Miraidon's ability goes off first, because then it indicates either max speed or more likely Choice Scarf. The main thing about Scarf Miraidon is, like, do they just rip Draco Meteor immediately into my Miraidon on turn 1? Because obviously I could Fairy Terra. The other thing to think about with Whimsicott Miraidon lead is that the Whimsicott will be slower than the Miraidon, so I can't just go for Endeavor into a KO. I have made that mistake while getting used to the team. Tor Miraidon. Okay, I think this is fine, mainly because I know I have fast Miraidon. Yeah, we do activate first. Okay. You would think it's just a trade in Tailwinds on turn 1. There's a part of me that wants to not even click Tailwind immediately with Whimsicott. And go for like Moonblast into Tornadus. Fairy Terra Dazzling Gleam. Tailwind is always safe, right? But the thing is, I would like to stagger my Tailwind if I can in a matchup like this to guarantee that I outpace my opponent. Okay, yeah, I'm opting for Moonblast Fairy Terra. Miraidon switches, which is a great start. No damage from that slot. Into hands! Whoa! Even better for us, okay. That is an unexpected sweet treat. Hands is going to lose like at least half its health already. My guess is they don't even Tailwind and they Bleak Wind here, but I'm fine with them Tailwinding. The main thing to think about if they Tailwind is then they have hands out, so they have Fake Outs pressure for a turn. I'm not Covert Cloak on the Whimsicott. They don't know that though. Unless they've seen the team. Okay, cool. So they Tailwind, but yeah, the whole idea is I didn't want to Tailwind here immediately because now I can buy an extra couple turns. And then, like, once their Tailwind expires, I should be able to just run over with my speed advantage. Dazzling does a ton. I'm not sure Moonblast actually finishes off Tornadus. It's a little bit higher HP than I wanted it to be. Yeah, it doesn't. Hands is still going to be slower than me, though, right? So, like, you can Fake Out. I mean, I think the best course of action probably would be to switch into Zamazenta here and then protect with Miraidon. If I were Covert Cloak here, it'd be really free to just Tailwind, honestly. What I don't want to happen is stay in and then eat up Fake Out plus Bleak Wind Storm, lose Whimsicott, and then I do not have my Tailwind, and my opponent has a couple turns of Tailwind to work with. By switching out Whimsicott, I guarantee that I can set up Tailwind later on in this game, and that's a really big deal. Zama in now should also scare my opponent from clicking like Bleak Wind next turn, potentially. Okay, great, it's Fake Out. Part of what's really nice about this team is having the max speed Miraidon gives you a pretty big edge, and they actually just go for Taunt here. Okay, that's fine. Now, obviously, you can Bleak Wind, but, like, it's whatever. I'm just going to Body Press now into Hands and Dazzling, I think. I could Heavy Slam. Like, they might switch in Lunala, but it's fine, right? It's not like Heavy Slam does that much to Lunala anyway, and Dazzling Gleam would be breaking the Shadow Shield, regardless. But one thing to think about is they also theoretically could taunt my Miraidon here to prevent it from protecting. So then, like, I get a double knockout, but then they get Miraidon plus Lunala out next to each other, which can be a little bit spooky for me. But overall, I think that's okay. I think Whimsicott Cinccino then actually can close out the game for us, which is also pretty cool. So one of the advantages for us here is that Iron Hands just doesn't utilize Tailwind very well. So like the fact they brought it into the matchup already good for us. Actually will be a Terra commit. Interesting. On Iron Hands. Into Bug. Okay, let's see if this allows him to survive. It'd actually be a really huge survival, if so. Bleak Wind comes out. Not much damage. No speed drop. Nice. Specs Gleam. Hands might be able to take this body press. Let us see. To be honest, though, I don't really need Zamazenta, so losing Zama isn't even the end of the world. But yeah, it's not enough to survive. Okay. Cool. Can respect the effort, though. Should put them in a really challenging spot now, because I can also just protect Miraidon, sack Zama. And then, like, Cinccino, I think, actually can close out this game for us, which is awesome. The thing about using Cinccino is you have to be very careful, right? Like, Intimidate's really bad for it, so if my opponent brought Incineroar and I let Cinccino, that would have been pretty bad. So they bring up the restricteds. It is Electric Seed here. Okay. Not shocking, but good to know. That being said, last turn of Tailwind. I don't mind Zama fainting here. I'm okay just going Body Press into Miraidon, Protect with my Miraidon. Then I can bring out Whimsicott and just Tailwind Draco Meteor, KO there. Miraidon, and then it's a 2v1 with Whimsicott plus Cinccino against Lunala. Lunala, granted, would be kind of annoying because the seed is activated, but I think it's still fine. Yeah, I think like Lunala would have caused a lot more issue if it came out earlier in the game, but they didn't get to really like utilize their Tailwind a ton, which was advantageous for us. So they're gonna drift into Zama, but that's fine. I like honestly think Zama served its purpose in this game, which was to like just stall out Tailwind turns in the mid game. So it would be an interesting angle for them to actually click Trick Room right now. But it's just Moongeist Beam, okay. Cool, well, I know I'm faster with my Miraidon. So I will just bring out... Oh, you know what I can do? Yeah, I can Encore them into Moongeist Beam because then you just can't hit my... You can't hit my Cinccino. So Encore you here. Draco here, respecting Wide Guard. We've stalled out their Tailwind. My Miraidon speed activated first, so I think I should be faster. Beautiful. Yep. Now ideally Moongeist KOs my Miraidon, and then I just bring out Cinccino. But with Cinccino in the back, and with them being locked into Moongeist Beam, like they just can't hit it for a couple turns, which is obviously a big deal. Beautiful. Moongeist Beam targets us. Here. Should KO us, hopefully. Great. Awesome. And now, even though it's like a weaker Cinccino, because like knockoff is obviously not nearly as powerful when your Electric Seed is active, it's still fine because you just won't be able to hit this Pokemon for a couple turns. So the Encore there just prevented any Trick Room shenanigans as well and locked it up with Cinccino here in the back. So you can just Moonblast now and knock off. And I think knockoff, even with Electric Seed active, should still do, you know, like 40-ish% or so, at least. Yeah. Beautiful. They're going to go for Moongeist, obviously. No other move you can go for. Brings us down to Sash. But you can't protect this next turn, and another Moonblast knockoff combo gets the KO. Yep, last turn of Encore. Encore is a really nice move in endgames to, like, potentially lock games up for you. So, yeah. Like, I also felt pretty good about having Cinccino in the back because I figured I could also target the Miraidon down with something like Tailwind plus Triple Axel, for example. And so, like Cinccino is actually pretty flexible in this endgame, which is really nice for us. But having a Ghost immunity is honestly a pretty big deal, especially in a format where Lunala and Shadow Rider are everywhere. And then being able to threaten, of course, both of those with super effective damage is also really nice. All right, rank 23, James. Is there any chance this is James Beck? If so, that'd be really fun. I think he featured this team as well, actually. So, Miraidon, Bolt, Whimsicott, Bundle, Groudon, Farigiraf. If I remember correctly, this might be one of the top teams from NAIC featuring Groudon. I think like Bundle is obviously a really interesting component for it, and it's honestly kind of underutilized right now, so... Yeah, I think this might be that team, which had Assault Vest, Fire Terra Miraidon. What do I want to do? Groudon is just such an abysmal matchup. And then like the Farigiraf also blocks Dragonite's extreme speeds, which kind of sucks. This looks really bad. What do I even do? Whims. I kind of feel like... Well, and... I want to, like, weave in Chien-Pao here. I just don't know how. Yeah, like, Zom's not really that great here, actually. But Like, I think Chien-Pao is interesting because it can go for Ruination, which is actually pretty good into a lot of the opposing side. It's Frig Miraidon. I feel like Volt Switch, Trick Room going to Groudon, and I'm just kind of cooked. Right? Maybe Chien-Pao. No, but like Pao plus this wouldn't have worked. You can pretty safely Volt Switch this Trick Room. You could always Volt Switch Whimsicott because you could expect this to protect. I just get destroyed by Groudon under Trick Room. Like, there's very little counterplay. I'm Moonblast protecting, hoping it's Volt Switch into Cinccino, but I actually thought about Triple Axeling it if they Volt Switch into Whims and then bring out Groudon. No, it's just Overheat. Okay. I guess that's fine, rather than the alternative, which was Groudon coming in. I didn't want to Tailwind here. It's like, because Trick Room should go up now, right? So I at least like stall out turn 1 of Trick Room. Yeah. Okay, it's like fine. I can't even Endeavor here, unfortunately, though. You are at -2 now. This could obviously Volt Switch out. And then you can foul play either slot. I think I want to switch into Zama right now. And Triple Axel. This matchup just seems abysmal, quite frankly. Okay, it is foul play into Frig, so that's good. Triple Axel connects. We KO Miraidon, but now it's just Groudon. And, like, this is where not having Wide Guard really stings, I think. Someone who's this high ranked, especially if it is James Beck, will likely know that the Zom doesn't have Wide Guard, and so that is a big part of this as well. Oh, it's not even Groudon coming in, that's Raging Bolt. This is Rising Voltage Raging Bolt, so it can one-shot things right now. Okay. I'm actually shocked it wasn't Groudon coming out. I thought Groudon would have just been really well positioned to press with Blades everything with helping hand support. I think we probably see this Rip Electric Terra now. Do I have enough firepower to stall out Trick Room is the question. Like, I kind of need to make a hard read on who's getting targeted this turn, essentially. Okay, I went for Protect Triple Axel. I think it's probably Electric Terra. Oh, Frig switches. Interesting. Okay. Into Groudon. Yeah. That makes sense. This Bolt is looking extra powerful now. There's no Terra. I feel like it's probably targeting Cinccino. Yeah. It, like, was basically like, if I could get the right target this turn and protect the right Pokemon, I actually would have brought in a lot of momentum back into my favor, but I think with that, I am actually probably just cooked. But it basically felt like a 50-50 guess on who to protect. If I protected protected Cinccino, get a body press off. I mean, it's still looking really hard, right? Like, I can't... Groudon is just such a bad matchup for us. And normally I'd want to bring Dragonite, but, like, Dragonite's so bad into a team that has Miraidon, Whimsicott, Bundle, Raging Bolt. Yeah, if I protected Body Pressed, I don't know. It'd still be hard, though, with Tailwind, like, still left. I guess I bring out Miraidon, because I can at least protect with this. But yeah, this just feels like an unwinnable matchup, quite truthfully. Even if I had made the right play there. 2 turns of Trick Room left. I just protected as well. You can Rising Voltage, Precipice Blades, basically with no consequence. I mean, I do have Fairy, Terra, Dazzling Gleam, and Draco Meteor open to me. It's not 100% over technically. I think I'll go for the switch here. Terra. Dazzle. I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being Rising Voltage, Precipice Blades actually into the Miraidon slot. Yeah, it's also Electric Terra Bolt here, right? Yeah. Basically, I think to have any chance in this game, I needed last turn to at least go right. But the switch also was really smart, because then it meant even if I made the right call, you have your 2 strongest attackers under Trick Room out against me. Yeah, it's funny. I was like scared about Groudon. It was like hard because Miraidon outpaces me in the beginning, right? But then Groudon and Bolt outpaced me under Trick Room as well. So the speed... I could have led my own Miraidon. That may have been the best bet, actually. Yeah, nice play. Voltage. I think the best bet actually is leading Miraidon, because then I just pressure Electro Drift into Farigiraf immediately. I mean, if Precipice Blades misses here, we actually still stand a chance, but it doesn't miss. Okay. I guess it's technically still playable. No, I needed to one-shot Bolt here, right? Yeah. Because now they can just Thunderclap me. And like, there's just too many turns of Trick Room to stall out. But I think against the 4 that came out here, Miraidon lead on my end would have been better rather than Cinccino. Maybe Cinccino just wasn't a good pick. I don't know. Like, I could bring Dragonite or Pow instead over it. Room. Rising Voltage this, Heat Crash this. No out against that, right? Yeah, without the defense boost either. I think it's cooked. The only hope I can have is a misplay, which after this turn you go for Thunderclap and Precipice Blades and double miss Precipice Blades. Like, that's the only out I can think of. But yeah, I think Cinccino is just exceptionally weak against... Oh, Ground switched. Interesting. Huh. That actually felt like a turn I could have capitalized on then, depending on who Bolt targeted. But I guess my double protect was just so obvious that they probably thought they could go for that safely. Voltage into Zom. If I had gleamed again there, I mean, I think I still lose, but it would have at least maybe kept me in it a little bit more. I'm not sure Body Press even KOs Bolt, to be honest. Like, protect, go for Body Press. But then you just get Trick Room up again, and then Groudon just Precipice Blades me. So yeah, I don't know. If I protect Gleam there, we KO. Then I KO Farigiraf. I think I probably still beat Groudon, though. And then you have just Precipice Blade spam, because I don't have Wide Guard. But I'm surprised they didn't stay and just Heat Crash. But I think it's like preemptive, thinking, hey, like, I know you're going to protect. So I might as well get the Farigiraf out to set up Trick Room again, which I think is smart. So going for this just to try to get around Thunderclap. Bolt protects. Very smart. Very, very smart. I could have tried to maybe double up on Farigiraf there. Got in the KO, denied Trick Room. But the reality is I still don't think I beat Groudon in the long run anyway. Since I don't have Wide Guard here. It's the downside of running in Prison over Wide Guard. You just become way more Groudon weak. But, yeah. Bolt, like, it was funny. Bolt was actually the carry in this one, not Groudon, but it was so exceptionally good into us. Like, Rising Voltage, Max Special Attack, Photosynthesis kind of just demolishes things. And with Electric Terror, I don't really have a way to thread in a big one-hit knockout onto it either, which is tough. But Yeah, I think this was always going to be a really tricky matchup because I think Groudon is probably the worst restricted for this team to go up against with Miraidon plus the Zom not having Wide Guard. And then normally what I would want to bring into Groudon is Chien-Pao and Dragonite, but like neither of those felt really good here, especially with Farigiraf blocking so much. If I had Taunt on Chien-Pao, I think then maybe it's more compelling, but then the reality is like the Assault Vest Miraidon being led is also just so scary because it does outpace everything that's like not my own Miraidon. So if I were to replay this, yeah, maybe it's something like Miraidon lead with, I don't even know, Wims Miraidon, like KO Farigiraf turn 1, and then go from there. Because if Trick Room doesn't go up, at least it's more playable. So it could be like Wims Miraidon, Zamazenta, Cinccino maybe. Is how I'm thinking I would play it if I were to go through that matchup again. But yeah, I think Groudon was always going to be really tough, and then the Raging Bolt was exceptionally powerful as well. Miraidon Ice Rider here with Incin, Wims, Urshifu, and Volcarona. Miraidon Ice Rider has been one of the top restricted duos for quite a while now. This team actually looks super similar to the team that won the Korean National Championships. That one had Lander as the Overvolk. Cinccino one-shots a lot on this team. It's very helpful into Volcarona, which does often end up coming out into us. Scarf Miraidon is something I'm a little bit spooked out about, potentially. Pao is also interesting because of Runation, but I think I'm going to go Whimsicott, Cinccino, Miraidon, Zama. I think Whimsicott, Miraidon from the opposing end is probably the most threatening combo because you threaten Tailwind and then just Volt Switch into Cinccino. To which I could protect Moonblast turn 1 onto Miraidon. And then switch Cinccino out into Miraidon turn 2 on my end. It is Wims Miraidon, yeah. Okay. Like, we'll probably end up just trading Tailwinds, right? They also could theoretically have Taunt. But yeah, the play I'm thinking of is Moonblast here, protect. Turn 1. That being said, then they could just Tailwind or Encore me, and I think losing that trade-off seems really bad. They also might read a Protector switch. I'm actually thinking of just like Tailwind Triple Axel turn 1. Okay. This might have worked. Even though I'm not sure it should have. And they bring out Volk. That's fine by me. I can Rock Blast you now. Nice. Let's see if they also Tailwind. If not, I think we're going to be in insane shape. They didn't Tailwind. Oh my gosh. Okay. And we don't miss. Huge. Okay, this might just be Cinccino destroying everything then. Let's see. I can see what they were going for there, though, because I think it's like you're scared of locking into a move potentially. Maybe their Miraidon, honestly, is slower than Cinccino. Like, that also could be the case here. Okay, so Ice Rider comes out. I have Rock Blast. They're probably going to want a Trick Room now, but if I KO this with Rock Blast... I also have Moonblast. I also have Endeavor. Endeavor Rock Blast probably just KOs this, right? I'm leaning towards Endeavor this, Rock Blast this. Okay, it is a Terra commit. Probably on Volk, but let's see. Okay. Oh, Rock Blast would have been pretty good there. It ends up being Terra Fire. Why Terra Fire, I guess, this turn? Volk doesn't protect. Okay, nice. Oh, Cinccino is having a field day, folks. It gets 2 knockouts immediately into Whimsicott and Volcarona. Nice. That being said, it's like, yeah, I don't think the game plan here is like foolproof because Miraidon obviously can just outpace Cinccino if they set up Tailwind on their side. They're gonna Glacial Lance. Okay, it's fine by me. Nice. They didn't set up Tailwind either, so I obviously just have Tailwind available. Or, I mean, I outpace my opponent pretty consistently, which is great. So I shall bring out the... Better to bring out Zamazenta here. Most of the times, these Miraidons aren't going to carry Protect. We haven't confirmed its item. I just think if they're going to make that switch on turn 1. I'm just going to Moonblast and Body Press it. Yeah, cool. Oh, that's Assault Vest. Wait, does it survive this? Okay, they Snarl. Trick Room. Huh. That's a little bit spooky. Now I see why they played turn 1 the way they did. I wasn't sure they were going to survive that. Yeah, because if we get the knockout there, then even if you Trick Room, I just Encore you, and if you Glacial Lance, I just outpace you. But that was the worst outcome, where it survives with like 1 HP. Maybe I should have brought out Miraidon out first there then, honestly. I still have Terra available to me, though, so I think it's fine. I think I can double Protect right now. Yeah. Double Protect, which stalls out my own Tailwind. Then my Zom should outspeed their Miraidon under Trick Room. They also probably are worried about Wide Guard. Yeah, they end up high horsepowering into Zom, okay. And Drift into Zom, that makes sense. Trying to get rid of the potential Wide Guard user. Tailwind peters out. Terra this now. Drift into you. Body Press into you. I wonder if I should have just gone Endeavor plus Rock Blast into the Ice Rider slot. That would have been pretty satisfying, but I wanted to try to one-shot Volcarona. Okay, they do go for Glacial here. We survive. Nice. Okay, they end up being faster with Miraidon as well. So, I actually could have lost that if they clicked Electro Drift into either slot. But, yeah, I think I probably should have just brought out Miraidon first over Zamazenta. I just didn't really think the Miraidon on the opposing end would survive a double up. But, yeah, I also, I think, disrespected Light Screen there a little bit. So, Drift doesn't KO, but that's fine. Yeah, you can't win a 2v1 from this spot. So, Cinccino was incredible here. I wish I, played the endgame a little bit cleaner. I just thought, Body Press Moonblast would be a guaranteed KO onto Miraidon. But I think... Because what I was worried about was, I bring out my own Miraidon. I guess the thing is we didn't know what item the Miraidon had, but if I was going to double up into it anyway and assume it didn't have Protect, I would have been able to just, Draco Meteor it, for example, instead. And if I knock out Miraidon, then my Zamazenta should generally win against their Ice Rider. So I do think the threat of Trick Room can be really spooky for this team. But yeah, the Cinccino was obviously incredible in this one, being able to just obliterate Whimsicott and the Volcarona for us in this one. Whoa. Okay. Perish, kind of, in Reg I with Origin Form Palkia, Jugulus, Gothitelle, Politoed, Landorus, Ice Rider. This is really cool. Fascinating. Okay, well, I think Cinccino is actually really solid here. Gets a lot of super effective damage across the board, which is great. Endeavor Whimsicott with Encore, I think, is also not a bad bring here, but I also kind of want Chien-Pao. Like, I could go Pao, Cinccino, Miraidon, Zama. And with this, it's like Covert Cloak plus Ghost Terra means I can just get around Fake Out from Gothitelle if they lead that. Okay, I'm down for this. Very cool team. Origin Form Palkia has basically seen no notable results in this format. And I think part of it is it's just like a lot harder to execute and pull off relative to other restricteds. But I think this kind of team composition makes a lot of sense for it, where you have rain support, but it's not from a Kyogre, so you don't have to give up a restricted slot for that. It is Gothitelle plus Landorus, which I think is really good for us. Okay. So I think it's like mainly the threat of Trick Room, which is a little bit spooky right now. But I think you could like Fake Out, for example, switch out. You could Trick Room with Gothitelle. My preference would be to try to KO Gothitelle turn 1. They could easily like protect here, maybe Terra Goth. I'm leaning towards Runation into Gothitelle, Ghost Terra. They could Terra Goth, right? So Ghost Terra Rock Blast. Oh, it's Scarflanders, it looks like. Okay. They Terra Ghost. I mean, that's okay because now I can just Sucker Punch you. But there's a chance that the Cinccino just goes down here on turn 1. Them being Scarfed is a big deal, because if you weren't Scarfed, I would just outpace you. So let's see. But the question is also, do you actually even knock me out with Choice Scarf? Because you don't have the Life Orb boost. Yep, they Fake Out into Pao, but we're Covert Cloak. And they're going to go for Sansear, which is also obviously inaccurate, so it is going to miss into Chien-Pao, and we do survive with Cinccino. Okay. I missed the Runation, though, but it's okay. Rock Blast will still do sizable amounts of damage, and now next turn I just pressure Sucker Punch plus Rock Blast. Wait, this is also doing a ton. Nice. Yep, there's a berry there. Okay, that makes sense. So I could have gone for knockoff, but I thought Gothitelle turn 1, like Water Terra Trick Room, protect Landorus was a logical play. But I think this is now fine because I have Sucker Punch pressure, so I can just Sucker Punch and Rock Blast. So I think like one of the cool things, Gothitelle just goes for Protect, that's fine, okay. Let's see if Landorus is bulky enough to survive this Sucker Punch. Nice, it's not. So that should give us a pretty huge advantage, right? You've got Ice Rider and Palkia in the back, but I can double up into anything that comes in with Runation. And like Rock Blast just demolishes the Chien-Pao, so I think you kind of have to go to Origin Form Palkia right now. Oh, sorry, I said Chien-Pao destroys Calyrex. They do bring out Calyrex though, but you Terra'd it, so I think I can just Rock Blast that slot. Oh, but I guess I don't have Crunch on Chien-Pao, which is the problem. It's only Runation, right? I have Ice Spinner here. I have Sucker Punch. Like, Calyrex could pretty easily protect, and this could Trick Room. I think it's probably fine to just go Runation here into Calyrex, and then launch... I would think knockoff KO's Gothitelle with the defense rep. I'm just, like, thinking about the fact that I could miss here. It doesn't have an item anymore, but it still should be pretty powerful. Yeah, this is where I wish I had Crunch, but alas. I'll go Runation knockoff. Okay, Calyrex protects, that's fine. We attack into protect. Cinccino goes for knockoff. Nice. And this is now knowing that you can't Terra your Gothitelle, right? I didn't go for knockoff on turn 1 because I was worried that they'd have a defensive Terra that allows them to resist knockoff, right? And Politoad's the last one. They didn't even bring Palkia. Okay. I guess they didn't feel great about the matchup. I think they were probably trying to trap in like Specs Miraidon with their lead, which makes a lot of sense. Garflando plus Gothitel's really good into Miraidon, but yeah, I thought this lead was just really solid. So happy to just go Runation to Politoed now. And I mean, to be honest, we actually kind of can ignore Politoed. They could go for a double protect though, I guess. So yeah, I'm happy to just Rock Blast here and Runation. Okay, no protect on either Pokemon. Runation comes out. Rock Blast doesn't miss. I think if it only gets 4 hits, Calyrex will survive. If we get all 5, Calyrex faints. It is 4 hits, but I think it's still okay because I've got Zama in the back. So they're going to Weather Ball us. We survive. And Trick Room. But now you are at risk of just getting hit by Sucker Punch, obviously. And there's lefties here on the Politoed, okay? I probably could have doubled up onto the Ice Rider there with Runation plus the Rock Blast. Wasn't sure what that calc looked like, honestly. Yeah, I think it's fine to just double protect here this turn. Bait out protects from their end. Yep, exactly. And then this next turn I can just Sucker Punch into the Chien-Pao and then Rock Blast with Cinccino. Yeah, I thought Cinccino was a really good pick in this one because it actually was already just faster than most of my opponent's team. However, because they had Scarflanders, they actually did end up having something faster than us, which is a little bit spooky. So they are going to Weather Ball into us. That's fine. We'll just Sucker Punch into the Ice Rider right now. It kind of has to go for either another Protect or click even Trick Room, but that's fine. Okay, going for Sucker Punch and Knock Off into it. Politoed's not going to beat Miraidon plus Zama, but they do get the double. Okay. So the idea of doubling into that slot was saying, hey, like, I know you have to go for a Sucker Punch, Protect again, but if you fail it, then I can just KO you. But they actually do smartly target us here with Weather Ball. That being said, now you just give me a free switch into Miraidon, right? One of the things to be wary about when you play against Politoed in a composition like this is, like, can they win the game with Trick Room? But since we got the early Pokemon lead, it's very difficult for that the answer to the tap to be yes. So I am happy to just bring out the Miraidon now. Okay. We'll just double check the field state real quick. Because there's only 2 turns of Trick Room left here, I think it's fine to just go Sucker Punch into Calyrex and Electro Drift into Politoed. Zamazenta will always win into the endgame against Calyrex. And, like, yeah, Politoed can Weather Ball. They finally decide to try to attack here, but there's no reason for me to not click Sucker Punch into that slot. No Weather Ball here. I think it would have been better for them to have actually gotten the knockout onto the Chien-Pao the previous turn rather than the Cinccino. That being said, I think it's, like, pretty easy to stall their Trick Room in this game with double protect, attack, double protect, right? So Cinccino was really great for us in this game, able to do so much damage to Gothitelle and KO it, and also get the knockout onto, or do like 80+% to Ice Rider. And then the Covert Cloak on Chien-Pao, obviously a really big deal here as well. Though we ended up missing. Like, if I didn't miss that initial Runation, we may have just got a one-shot onto Gothitelle immediately, which would have been pretty satisfying. But even with some things not going our way, we also, of course, did get lucky with the initial Sandsear miss. But yeah, I think it is a little bit risky to click Sandsear that early on in the game, and I don't think it would have gotten a one-hit knockout into either. And then I was surprised that my opponent stayed in with Landorus rather than swapping out because of the threat of Sucker Punch. But even if they had swapped out, I figured it's like, your best play is switch protect, but then I'm still in a decent offensive position. But yeah, the surprise combo of Cinccino plus Chien-Pao is a really fun lead for this team. All right, we've got the team that won the North American International Championships, featuring, if it's the same sets, Choice Specs Miraidon, Assault Vest Incin, Flame Orb Ursa, Choice Band Urshifu, Whimsicott, as well as Electric Seed on the Lunala. So we do have max speed Miraidon, which is kind of neat. Ursa Luna we have to be very careful about. Unfortunately, Electric Seed Lunala is actually a pretty big pain for Cinccino, I think. Could see Incin being led here, like Incin Miraidon. Trying trying to think whether or not I want Whimsicott or not. Basically, one lead I think we could go with is Whimsicott, Cinccino, Miraidon, Zama. I think I like that. Basically, Cinccino is actually very good into Miraidon, right, if I set up Tailwind, but otherwise I'm just outsped. If they go Whimsicott plus their own Miraidon, things can get interesting. To that, I could maybe switch out on turn 1. But it's Lunala. Ursaluna Lee. Okay, interesting. You don't see that every day. I'm inclined to just Moonblast and knock off Lunala here, turn 1. I thought about targeting the Ursaluna with like Moonblast Triple Axel. Yeah, they don't protect it. Interesting. But I think this is fine, right? Yep. I assume they headlong rush into Cinccino. Just Facade, okay. That works for me. Now I can Encore Triple Axel or Tailwind Triple Axel. Tailwind is really safe now that we've eliminated Trick Room. It's very rare to see Ursaluna being led because it almost always wants to protect on turn 1, since otherwise you like struggle to get a one-hit knockout. Miraidon hits the field, so definitely safe to Tailwind now for Whimsicott. Tailwind. I think either of these theoretically, like, I don't mind Tailwind Protect here because then you knock out Whimsicott. Yeah, you Terra, and then now I get a free switch in. And then I can potentially throw in a double knockout. Cool, it's going to be Miraidon Terraring into Fairy. That makes sense. Okay. Cinccino protects. We'll set up Tailwind. I assume they just Dazzling Gleam with this. Yep. Okay. That's fine. Whimsicott feigns, and now I get a free switch in. Facade, yep. Okay. Now I can go out into... I think it's better to go out into Miraidon here. Pretty easily Electro Drift their Miraidon slot, right? Electro Drift that Triple Axel Ursaluna. I just have to respect Earthquake. Like, Miraidon could theoretically switch out and they could Earthquake right now. I think the play actually like more is Fairy, Terra, Dazzling Gleam, and targeting Ursaluna. Okay, they do stay in with their Miraidon. So it could just be Protect here, but I figured this is okay, even if they protect Miraidon. I want to do Electro Drift Triple Axel, by the way, but I didn't think that would actually knock out Ursaluna. If Ursaluna survives Triple Axel, it's really bad for us. Okay, cool, this works. They don't protect Ursa, so that's fine. Nice. Great, Triple Axel doesn't miss. Fantastic. And I have the Tailwind advantage, right? So no matter what you have in the back, either my Zama or my Miraidon should be able to just knock out their Miraidon. Flex Gleam from their end. Cool. Cinccino feints, but it's done more than I've needed to, honestly. Now Zama's the last one for us. And even if they have Whimsicott, like, I have max speed Miraidon. Cool, it's Urshifu. Nice. Aqua Jet shouldn't KO us. Still 2 turns of Tailwind, so I can just Electro Drift into their Miraidon. And I think I'll Heavy Slam here as well, just in case they crit Aqua Jet. Since it doesn't matter. Like, they should be Slash. Oh no, they're Choice Band. Actually, it was better to body press there then, I think. I was thinking because you're Sash, like, it doesn't matter what attack I go for into that slot. But they're going to lock into Aqua Jet. Yeah, okay. Well, actually, maybe it is correct then to Heavy Slam there because Aqua Jet almost KO'd us there, right? And so if it KOs us, then Heavy Slam is super effective into Miraidon. So I actually think my play is probably okay. But that was really close. Almost got the KO onto us. Yeah, because if I body press into Urshifu, that won't even KO, and then they get a Dazzling Gleam off into me, and then Tailwind ends, and then they just outpace me and Dazzling Gleam again. So I need to knock out Miraidon that turn, I think. But now I can just body press. Yeah, I was really surprised with the Ursaluna Lunala lead. I think, you know, turn 1, they could have switched in the Miraidon. Oh, they are... Okay, this is not the choice band set. Wait, the Aqua Jet did a ton to me then. Given that it wasn't banned, that's kind of surprising. But this means you should be Focus Sash, which means I just outpace you and KO you. Yeah. So if it were banned at Urshifu, I actually definitely would have knocked out Miraidon. So yeah, I do think it was correct to Heavy Slam them. But does Heavy Slam even get the knockout onto Miraidon? Like, because of the weight? I actually want to pull up that calc. I'm not sure. Okay, so Heavy Slam against, like, the less bulky Miraidons, 44 HP, 4 defense, does 47 to 70%. Miraidon was around, like, 55-ish or less, right? And so against this kind of spread, it is a KO. If you're, like, super bulky Miraidon, then it's more of a damage roll. But that being said, I think it is still correct to Heavy Slam there. I just wasn't sure if it was doing substantially less. And Heavy Slam's one of those weird moves because the restricted Pokemon are obviously relatively heavy as well. But yeah, this is actually still quite powerful here. And so I think given this, then it was correct to target Miraidon. But of course, that's one of the things you can do when you take a popular team is like change some of the sets. The version of that team that won the North American International Championships had Choice Band, but Focus Sash is a very common item on Urshifu. Looks like it was Sash on that Urshifu, given that it wasn't Choice Banded or Scarfed. Okay, Shadow Rider, Zama here with Incineroar, Chien-Pao, and Weezing. You don't see Weezing a ton these days, but when you do, it's often with like either Dondozo or Shadow Rider Koraidon. So it's interesting to see what Shadow Rider Zama here. Cinccino's offense looks really good. Yeah, I like that. Although I have to consider like if they bring the Weezing, then the Technician might just get shut down, which would kind of suck. Weezing honestly does not look fun to deal with here. Honestly thinking of like Pao Zama, Miraidon, Cinccino. I thought about leading Whimsicott. I just love Whimsicott with this team. Like Tailwind plus Endeavor is really solid. But I think Pao is interesting because it can put on pressure against Shadow Rider immediately. And I have Covert Cloak, so I can go for Runation. It's Calyrex Weezing, which is fine by me. Yeah, I think against this, Shadow Rider should feel threatened. So I want to just go for a Runation here and Heavy Slam. Substitute. Okay. That's cool. Runation. It is Citrus Berry, so I'm probably eating up a Will-O-Wisp now, which isn't great, but it is what it is. Oh, that still KOs. Nice. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was going to KO, but that works. I wonder if it's better to actually spin our Heavy Slam there because Citrus Berry is so common to like not put it in Citrus range. This is where Imprison should be super good for us, by the way. They bring out Incin, okay. Well, we've got Covert Cloak on Chien-Pao, which is pretty awesome. But if I Ghost Terror this, I become weak to Astral Barrage, so I want to be a little bit careful about sending it. What are the odds you're running sub and nasty plot now is my question. Like, I would like to go for... You would think Ice Spinner even breaks sub even with Intimidate, right? So, like, Ice Spinner here, Protect. Yep. I thought about just attacking with Zama here with Ghost Terra, but I just didn't want to be weak to Astral Barrage. Yeah, and they go for Astral. Cool. Okay. I think we're in decent shape right now. Ice Spinner, break sub. Yep. Now the big question is, do you have Ghost Terra Incin? If so, this is kind of the time to go for it. I have Imprison, so I'd love to save this for the endgame against their Zama as well. Some food for thought. Like, I'm thinking of actually going for Ruination here and Heavy Slam this turn. Okay, instant switches, that's fine. Rilla? Wow, they didn't bring their own Zom into this one. Okay. Interesting. Calyrex just subs, but that's fine. Ruination, nice. Heavy Slam should break the sub. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't really see how they're getting through. We also have Cinccino in this endgame, which is pretty cool. You can fake this out now, and then, like, Astral Barrage, you can Grassy Glide Astral Barrage now, finally. Do you think Grass Terra might be worth it here? To survive Glide? Glide Astral, fake out Astral. Fake out into this, I think is probably a little bit more likely. Still don't want to Ghost Terra. Don't think I'll Ghost Terra this. Okay, they fake out Champa. I'm guessing they're going to attack here, which is why I Sucker Punched. Yeah, GG. Cobra Cloak difference there. Nice. Honestly, kind of shocked they didn't bring Zama. But Pao Zom kind of just cleared in this one by themselves. Sam actually crits and just KOs. But yeah, I think it's like the Wheezing didn't really do anything for my opponent. And Shadow Rider substitute is cute, but like they don't have offense into Chien-Pao, right? And so Zom at least would have, if it hit the field, given them more of an option into my Chien-Pao, but I also would have been able to just imprison them and then lock them up from there. So, but Ruination was pretty sick in this one. I was able to just consistently chip away at my opponent's Mons. But I think it's like, basically they brought 3 Pokemon to support Shadow Rider, but then Shadow Rider was not very good into Zamazenta or Chien-Pao as a lead. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Really exciting to feature a Pokemon that basically sees no play in Regulation I, and hopefully I've demonstrated that it does indeed have a lot of potential and can be brought across a lot of different matchups against a lot of different Pokemon as well. So thanks so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll catch you all soon. All right, peace.